Picture this. You're on a safari drive right at sunset. You see the beautiful savanna, maybe the iconic red garments of the Maasai people. When someone says the word Kenya, that's the postcard image that pops into our heads almost instantly, right? And I'm going to jump in and actually stop you right there, because in this explainer, we are entirely challenging that assumption. We're looking at a country that holds some of humanity's most extraordinary records, and it defies expectations at every single turn. This isn't just about wildlife, this is a massive paradigm shift.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention. You're saying the postcard image is just a tiny fraction of the story? A microscopic fraction. We are talking about the literal birthplace of humanity. We're talking about ancient islands completely devoid of cars, absolutely staggering athletic dominance, and massive global exports you probably have sitting in your home right now. The realities we're about to uncover together are genuinely startling.
Let's dive into Section 1, Ancient Origins, where humanity began. So let's rewind about 1.5 million years. Up near Lake Turkana in northern Kenya, paleontologists unearthed Turkana Boy.
Right, that's the famous near-complete Homo erectus skeleton.
Exactly, and the crazy thing is he wasn't found alone. They've discovered fossils representing at least 7 distinct hominid species right in that exact same area. This literally cements Kenya within the global scientific community as the actual cradle of humanity itself.
But get this, it's not just our earliest ancestors. If you fast forward to about 2,000 years ago, still near Lake Turkana, you find a site called Namaratunga, which is basically Africa's Stonehenge. Yes, it's this deeply mysterious site made of 19 carefully positioned basalt pillars. And they aren't just random rocks. They form an ancient astronomical observatory, perfectly aligned with specific stars and constellations. It proves the early inhabitants here were incredibly sophisticated astronomers, quietly mapping the heavens.
Moving right along to Section 2, Marvels and Modern Paradoxes, Defying Expectations. Now, Kenya is consistently ranked as having some of the absolute finest, most expensive coffee on Earth. It is highly prized all across Europe and North America. But wait until you hear what Kenyans actually drink.
Let me guess. They don't actually drink the coffee.
Not even close. The country runs almost entirely on tea. It is one of the world's great coffee producers, yet its biggest domestic hot drink is tea, which means almost all of that premium, world-class coffee is strictly for export. And speaking of massive exports, forget the coffee for a second. Kenya is literally the flower garden of Europe.
Wait, really?
Flowers? Oh, absolutely. Hundreds of millions of roses and cut flowers are exported annually. If you've ever bought a romantic bouquet in London or Paris for Valentine's Day, there is a massive chance those exact flowers were grown thousands of miles away on the shores of Lake Naivasha. Kenya is quietly fueling Europe's entire romance industry. Okay, I have one number for you. 90%. Just let that sink in for a second because it sets up a reality about Kenya's infrastructure that most people completely miss. That 90% represents Kenya's absolute dominance in green energy.
Wait, over 90% of their power?
Yes! Despite being a developing nation, over 90% of Kenya's electricity is generated from renewable sources. We are talking primarily geothermal, hydro, and wind power. This country quietly runs one of the greenest power grids on planet Earth, effortlessly outperforming the renewable energy proportions of most Western nations. And while they look to the future with all that green energy, they preserve the past brilliantly. Take Lamu Island. It was founded in 1370, making it the oldest continuously inhabited town in East Africa.
Okay, 1370 is incredibly old.
Right. Now think about the year 1886, which is when the first automobile was invented. Lamu Island just completely ignored it. To this day, after over 6 centuries, it operates entirely without motorized vehicles. The streets were originally built too narrow for cars, so today it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site where everything still moves by donkey or just on foot.
Which brings us to Section 3, Nature and Endurance Unbound, Pushing the Limits.
Imagine going on a safari. You're taking a photo of a wild lion or a giraffe, and there are literal modern skyscrapers directly behind them in the shot.
That is Nairobi National Park.
Exactly. It is the only national park on Earth directly adjacent to a capital city's limits. That stark, almost jarring contrast between raw, untamed nature and modern urban sprawl is totally unique to Kenya. Then there's the sheer unbelievable scale of their natural cycles. Take the Great Wild Beast Migration. The seasonal rains fall, and that triggers 1.5 million wildebeest, plus hundreds of thousands of zebras, to move in this massive continuous clockwise loop down into Tanzania's Serengeti and back. And what's absolutely mind-bending about this loop is that there's no start date. There's no finish line.
It is a permanent, endless circle of survival that's been running on repeat for tens of thousands of years.
Now, from incredible endurance in the animal kingdom, let's look at human endurance. I've got another tiny fraction for you, 0.1%. This figure frames one of the greatest athletic mysteries and realities in human history.
You're talking about the Kalenjin people of Kenya's Rift Valley. They make up less than 0.1% of the entire global population.
And yet,
they hold nearly 50% of all major international distance running titles. Half!
It is a staggering statistical anomaly. Researchers have found that their unique leg physiology, combined with a lifestyle where children run across high-altitude terrain just to get to school every single day, has created literally the most dominant athletic group in human history.
Let's wrap this up with Section 4, where history literally began, the bigger picture. You know the phrase Hakuna Matata, right?
Obviously, from a certain very famous animated lion movie.
Right. But here's the thing. This isn't just some catchy Hollywood invention. It is genuine Swahili, meaning roughly no troubles. Swahili is an official language of Kenya, and it's used across 14 different countries in Africa.
The real takeaway here is that Kenya's culture is a massive real-world influence. It never needed a Disney film to validate its vocabulary or its vibrant, far-reaching impact.
So we have gone way beyond the postcard today. We've seen the cradle of humanity with 1.5 million-year-old fossils. We've uncovered a silent green energy powerhouse running 90% on renewables. We've marveled at the home of ultimate human endurance and witnessed nature's endless, staggering cycles set right against a modern city skyline. The postcard version barely scratches the surface of this country's true depth.
You came into this explainer thinking you knew what Kenya was all about, right? The safaris, the savannah. But after seeing the ancient observatories, the hominid fossils, and the cradle of civilization, what if Kenya isn't just a travel destination? What if Kenya is simply where you and all of us literally began? Think about that. We will catch you in the next explainer.